John 5:1. It says, after this, a Jewish festival took place, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem by the sheep gate. In Jerusalem, there is a pool called Bethesda in Aramaic, which has 5 colonnades. Within these lay a large number of the disabled, blind, lame, and paralyzed. One man was there who had been disabled for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and realized he had already been there a long time, he said, "Do you want to get well, sir?" The disabled man answered, "I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. But while I'm coming, someone goes down ahead of me." And then verse 8 says, "Get up." Jesus told him, "Pick up your mat and walk." Instantly, the man got well, picked up his mat, and started to walk. Now, I just wanted to just talk to you guys about this scripture really quickly, because I really feel like this is where the Lord is taking the church right now. We have a story here that is very, very. If you've read the Bible, it's a story about a man who was lame for 38 years, and he had his bed there for 38 years. And as he was there, Jesus sees him, and Jesus has this conversation with him, and it says, "Hey, do you want to get well?" The man says, "Hey, I do want to get well, but every time it's the season for me to go in, or when the angel comes and troubles the water, all these people, I have nobody to help me." And so he stays in this place over and over and over again. And so I just wanted to talk to you guys about a couple of things here. They were at a place called Bethesda. Bethesda means the house of mercy, the house of mercy. And so he had been waiting in this place for a very long time, and he was not able to get in. Even though he was already in a place, he was waiting for someone to help him. He was waiting for anyone to come in and help him to get in. But he had waited for so long, I would imagine that he had gotten frustrated. I would imagine that he had grown old, possibly waiting in this place. But Jesus saw him there, and he knew that he had been there, and Jesus came to set him free. And I want to talk to you all today about that same idea, that there are many of us who have been in places. I have seen people over the years, how they have been in a place of feeling like they were lame, feeling like they were not able to actually break through, feeling like they were not able to jump in to get into where God has wanted them to be. And what their excuse is, or what they say is, I've not been able to do it because I've needed somebody to help me. This is what this man was saying. And I just want to talk to you guys about that really quickly. And I just want to tell you that what you have been waiting for someone else to do for you, many of us, we have been waiting for men. We have been waiting for help. We have been waiting for people to come. And we know that people helping us, that is something that God has, He wants us to be able to help each other. And sometimes, we know that doctors are good. We know that counselors are good. We know that those are really, really good positions and good needs that are in the earth. But I really believe that this time that we are entering into, many of you are looking even now for breakthrough. How many of you guys are looking for breakthrough right now? Many of us were at the beginning of the year. You're saying, "God, I cannot stay the same. I've been the same for," maybe it hasn't been 38 years, maybe it hasn't been that long, but you know that you have been the same. You know that your life has been the same. You know that you have needed help. You know that you have needed somebody to come and assist you. And you may have a story that's like that. An angel comes, something comes, and it happens, and you just miss it. But I want you to know that what angels could do, what angels could not do, or what you've been expecting from somebody else, I want you to know that in this hour, God is going to meet your need. Jesus came. This was the wonderful thing about this story is that, this man, the lame man, had been looking for a man to help him. And that has been the issue. Many of you have been looking for a pastor to help you. You've been looking for the next person online to help you. You've been looking for a self-help person to help you. But this man, he encountered Jesus. And I want you to realize today that in this hour, what could not be done with a man is going to be done simply by the power of the Holy Spirit. Mary said it this way. When the angel of the Lord came to her, and said, hey, listen, you're going to have a baby, and the baby's name is going to be Jesus, yada, yada, yada. We talked about all of that stuff last month. She said this. She said, how can this be since I have not known a man? And then he said to her, don't worry about that, because the Holy Spirit is going to overshadow you, and what needed a man to happen, I'm going to bypass that, because you're going to have an encounter with me, and through your encounter with me, you're going to experience change. And many of us, we've been looking for men. We have been looking for men to come into our lives. Whether you're looking for a man to make it to approve you, to give you approval. Maybe you were fatherless. Maybe you were one of those people that did not have a good relationship with your mother. You didn't have a good relationship with your father. You don't have good relationship, and so you're always looking for someone that can approve you. Maybe you were one who has had bad relationships. Obviously, we're not just talking about a man. We're not just talking about a man, but that person, the man, represents someone who can help. The man represents someone who can assist, who can affirm, who can place you in a place. And so what we have done as people is we have put a man up on a pedestal. You've put a man up on a pedestal, and when the man does not help you, or when the man fails you, or when a pastor offends you, or when something like that happens, all of a sudden you just lay by this pool. You lay by a place, a pool of Bethesda. You lay in the same place, and you stay in a place, and you become lame, and you're not able to move, and you miss time. But I want you to know today that what a man could not do, Jesus is here to perform for you. Jesus is here to perform it for you. You don't need a man. Now, we understand that God has placed the office of pastors in the earth. So I'm not trying to tell you you don't need a pastor. And anybody that's telling you that you don't need to be in a house of God, and you don't need to be accountable, and you don't need to have pastors, prophets, apostles, teachers, and evangelists, they are a heretic. They are not telling you the truth, because the Bible says that God placed those things in the earth. When Jesus left the earth, he placed the ministry, he left the gifts of the apostle, of the pastor, of the teacher, of the evangelist. All of them, he left them in the earth. But what I am saying is this. I'm saying that there are certain moments, because you and I, we are human, and what we do is we are looking for humans to come and help us. We are looking for the human who has the call of God. And when a human fails us, when a leader fails us, we begin to say all leaders are bad. When a leader messes up, we say all leaders are hypocrites. When a Christian messes up, you may have been looking for a Christian in your life, and all of a sudden, when the Christian fails, or when they don't do things exactly right, we all of a sudden say, oh, well, I thought you were a Christian. See, that's what I knew. All Christians are this way. But God is meeting people right now. Wasn't that a beautiful story, that he had been waiting for a man, and something supernatural was happening in the water? Something was happening in the water. People were getting healed in the water. But every time it was his time, they would step over him. And many of you today, you feel the same way. You feel like you have been stepped over by men and women, whether it was your mother, whether it was your father, whether it was a coach, whether it was a teacher. You have felt rejected. You have felt that thing on your life, and you have carried that with you for from place to place. Has anybody ever been there? Am I relating to anybody? Is anybody understanding what I'm talking about today? The lack of people being there, the lack of people affirming you, the lack of people saying, hey, you're a good son, hey, you're good, hey, you're this. Sometimes we need to hear that kind of stuff. And so it causes us to walk through our whole lives. This man spent 38 years. How long was it? 38 years. Half of you in here are not even 38 years old. And to imagine somebody who had been laying in the same position for 38 years because they had been stepped over by men, people that possibly could have helped them, stepped over by women, people that could have spoken a word to them, could have helped him, pushed him in. They were so busy with their lives. And this man, I would imagine, had sat there and probably got bitter with God and got bitter with everyone that walked around while he was in that place. And many of us, we are lame today because of what somebody did to us yesterday. You're like, well, I can walk. But why is it that you haven't moved from that same place, that challenging place? I just want you to know that Jesus came into that place. He was in there, and he is the house of mercy. He is the God of mercy. He is the God that looks beyond our faults, and he sees our needs. And in that moment, when he saw that man, I believe that he had compassion in his heart. He understood everything that had happened. And I want you to know right now that you are in a place, you may be in a place of being lame. Maybe your wife was the one that should have spoken to you. Maybe you're a husband and you hadn't spoke right to her because someone hadn't spoke right to you. Maybe you are that person that has been in this place for such a long time. But I want you to know that even though you have been in that place, Jesus is here to encounter you today. He's here to encounter you today. So verse 7 says, the disabled man, of course, he said, I have no one to put me in the water when the water is stirred up. But while I'm coming, someone goes down ahead of me. Another version of the Bible talks about how in the season, it talks about I have nobody to help me in the season of the water being troubled. And I want to just talk about that for a moment because often the waters were not always troubled. It wasn't like the waters were always moving. It wasn't like something was always happening, but in the season that things were happening, he was not able to get to the water. And many of us, we feel like we are in a season. Have you ever been in a season? Have you ever felt like, we're in winter right now? At first, we didn't think that winter was even coming. Are you guys hearing me? I didn't think that winter was even coming, but all of a sudden, it's 5 degrees outside. It's 4 degrees outside. I go to my car and turn it on just to warm it up and turn on the defrost, and all of a sudden I come out to my car and my windshield is cracked because it's cold outside. Things are changing. Things are happening. Things are looking a certain way because we are in a season, and we know that the season before this was fall, and we know that the season after this will be spring, but we are in a season. But I want you to realize that when Jesus comes, he will supersede your season. Okay, let me just slow that down because that may have been too preachy for people. I want to talk about that for a minute. I'm a church preacher, and so sometimes when I'm in churches like this, I just like to preach. But sometimes when I'm talking that kind of stuff, people may not understand what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is that you can be in a season. You can be in a season, and it may not be your time. But when Jesus comes into your life, when he comes in to where you are, everything changes. Every single thing around you changes. What could not be done? He was not going to get healed. He probably wasn't going to get healed. His life was going to be how it was. It was going to be sad, and it was going to be another 38 years. It was going to just be longer and longer that he was going to be in that position. He was going to be in that place, and he probably would have died lame, except that Jesus came. And many of you, you're in the same predicament. You're in that same place. You're in a season. And, you feel like you're in this place, and seasons can seem very long. They can seem incredibly long. Even though we are just in January, the truth of the matter is it's been winter for probably 10 days, 15 days, 2 weeks maybe. Winter started on the 21st of December. So 3 weeks, not even a month. But it feels like an eternity. And sometimes that's how our seasons can be. We can be in a place and it can feel like 38 years. 38 years is a long time to be lame. 38 years is a long time to be waiting at a pool where something may happen or something may not happen. 38 years. It was a long time. And in that time, how many times did people come and go? What's so crazy about it is that when you think about it, Jesus wasn't even born. He wasn't even in the earth when this man started waiting waiting at this gate, waiting at this pool. He wasn't even born at that time, because Jesus started his ministry and he was in ministry for just a couple of years. And so we realize that he wasn't even born at that time. He had been waiting in this place. And sometimes when you're waiting, it can seem like an eternity. But I want you to know that when Jesus shows up, and an eternity, what it seemed like an eternity will come to an end just like that. And this is what happened to him. He was able to do what no man could do. All of the time, this man had been looking for a man to help him. He had been looking for one of his fellow mates to just come and help him get in the water. Many of us were the same way. We've been looking for men and women to help us. We've been looking, and it's caused you to go into all kinds of habits, and it's caused you to walk down all kinds of roads, all kinds of journeys with all kinds of different people, because you have been looking for a man to help you. You have been looking for a man to come and speak into your life. You have been looking for somebody to tell you you're beautiful. And so because you've been looking for someone to speak a word to you, you go to anybody who will say something that you have longed to hear. But Jesus is here today, and you don't have to be lame anymore. So Jesus says to him, he says, "Get up." Get up, Jesus told him. Pick up your mat and walk. And it does not say that he got well in a few days. It says that instantly, how? Instantly, the man got well, picked up his mat, and started to walk. And I just want to tell you that Jesus can do stuff that nobody else can do in your life. Jesus can change you in ways that no one else can. He can change you in ways that nobody else can. And the enemy, he wants to emulate. And this is why we have people that are stuck on drugs, and people that are stuck in bad relationships, people that continue to give themselves to people outside of marriage, people that continue to fall into these temptations because they are looking for something to fulfill them on the inside. Yes, you're looking for something to fulfill you on the inside. You're looking for a person, so you're looking for a person, you're looking for a feeling, anything that will make you feel whole. Anything that'll make you feel better than where you've been at. We all know that you are lame. You know that you are lame. You know that you can't walk. But Jesus is here, and he wants to heal you today. There is a healing. There is a healing in the land. There is a healing in the house. The seasons are changing because Jesus is here. When Jesus shows up, seasons begin to change. Things cannot stay the same when Jesus comes in the room. And Jesus came in the room that day. Jesus came in the room that day. And it says that instantly this man was healed. instantly he was healed. All of his waiting, all of his looking, all of his searching, everything that he had been trying to get, it was all healed. It was done in that moment. And he can do that for you today. He wants to do that for you today. He wants to come in and he wants to change your life. You don't have to wait for someone to push you in. You don't have to wait for a man to come and push you in. You don't have to wait for a woman. You don't have to wait for anybody because Jesus is here. I don't care how long you've been in a situation. I don't care how long your marriage has been on the rocks. I don't care how long you've been struggling with your sin, your whatever it is. Jesus is here today. Many of you are like, well, I've fasted and I've prayed and I've tried, and you know what, we've gone through counseling, we've done this, I've done this, and I've looked and I've read self-help books, and yes, but Jesus is here. I've been doing it this way, and I'm taking these steps right now, and I'm working on trying to be this way, and I'm working, and but Jesus is here. He's come into the room. And the song says, when you walk into the room, talking about Jesus, everything changes. And everything changes when Jesus is here, you guys. Many of you have made decisions. You're like, okay, so this is a new year. We have resolutionists in the house. I think we live in a country where people just make resolutions. It's fun. People make lots of money on people who make resolutions. I'm going to tell you something about being resolutionists. We looked forward as gym owners. We looked forward to New Year's because we knew that everybody who had left the gym, they would all be back. They would all be back, and it would start raining because everybody wanted to come back. Because we're resolutionists. We're like, okay, now we're going to do better. And then you know that you fall off, right? You fall off. And I really believe that this is how it is in the spirit today. Many of you have made resolutions. You said, you know what, I'm not going to look at that anymore. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to be nicer this year. I'm going to be. And so what happens is that we get into this cycle of just doing what we say we're going to do. And we start reading books. We start looking at things. I'm gonna read a book on how to be nicer. I'm gonna read a book on how not to procrastinate anymore. I'm going to do this. But God is here right now. Many of you are needing him to actually come in and do what you cannot do on your own. And I believe that he wants to do that for you today. What you cannot do on your own, he wants to do that for you. He wants to meet you. He wants to cause you to come into a place where you are like, I have the victory. I have the victory because Jesus is here. You don't have to encounter me. All you have to do is encounter Jesus. Sometimes I believe that our expectation is on men is so much. You know, we expect pastors and leaders and people to do everything. That's why people are watching men and women fail all over the world, because we're expecting them to do what only can be done through Jesus Christ. Only he can do it. But if you're wanting him to do it, he's here to meet you. If you're wanting him to, I believe that we don't have to wait for anything else to happen. You don't have to wait for an aha moment with your counselor. You don't have to wait for any of that stuff. Jesus can do it right here and right now. And many of you are like, well, I've encountered Jesus before and nothing happened. I don't believe that. You've got to come back in again. You got to get before the Lord and allow him to do something new in your life. Can we just stand up on our feet really quickly?